Hello, I'm Dr. William Lee, a physician and medical researcher dedicated to advancing health through evidence-based medicine and innovative approaches to disease prevention and care. So there's this one food sitting in your kitchen right now that could be the secret weapon your body has been begging for, especially if you're a man dealing with that frustrating, sleep-stealing, life-disrupting problem known as an enlarged prostate. And before you click away thinking this is just another boring health talk, let me tell you something that might shock you, because what I'm about to share could literally change how you feel every single morning when you wake up, how well you sleep through the night, and even how confident you feel walking into a bathroom without that nagging worry hanging over your head. Let's break this down in the simplest way possible, because once you understand what's really happening inside your body, you'll never look at your dinner plate the same way again. Picture your prostate for a moment. It's this small little gland, normally about the size of a walnut, and it wraps itself snugly around a tiny tube that sits right underneath your bladder. That tube, by the way, is the highway your urine travels through every time you go to the bathroom. Now here's where things get tricky, because when that walnut-sized gland decides to puff up and grow bigger than it should, it starts squeezing that tube like a hand gripping a garden hose. And what happens when you squeeze a garden hose? The water flow becomes weak, sputtery, frustrating, and sometimes it just refuses to come out properly. That's exactly what happens with your urine flow when the prostate enlarges. And trust me, it's not just an annoying inconvenience. It can wake you up 2, 3, even 4 times a night, robbing you of deep restorative sleep, leaving you exhausted, cranky, and feeling like a shadow of yourself during the day. Even worse, an enlarged prostate isn't just about bathroom troubles, because in some cases it can spiral into something far more dangerous, something nobody wants to hear, and that's prostate cancer. Doctors have a fancy medical name for this enlargement situation, and they call it benign prostatic hyperplasia, which sounds intimidating, but really it just means your prostate has grown larger than it should. Now let's get into the juicy part, the part where we figure out what's actually causing this whole mess to begin with. The current theory, the one that scientists and doctors lean on, is that certain hormones inside your body act like fuel for the fire, lighting up the prostate and pushing it to grow. One of the biggest culprits is testosterone, that powerful hormone every man knows about, the one that's responsible for building muscle, boosting energy, fueling drive, and making you feel like the strong, confident version of yourself. Testosterone is what they call an anabolic hormone, meaning it helps things grow, especially your muscles. But here's the twist nobody talks about enough. Testosterone doesn't just sit there quietly doing its job. With the help of a sneaky little enzyme hiding in your body, testosterone gets transformed, converted, upgraded into a much more aggressive and powerful form called DHT, or dihydrotestosterone. And this DHT, this supercharged version of testosterone, is the troublemaker that's been linked directly to the enlargement of the prostate. It's like testosterone is the calm older brother, and DHT is the wild, rebellious one who shows up and stirs up chaos wherever he goes. This is exactly why one of the top-selling medications on the market for prostate enlargement works by attacking that specific enzyme, the one that converts testosterone into DHT. The idea is simple. If you block the enzyme, you reduce the DHT, and if you reduce the DHT, the prostate should stop growing. Sounds like a perfect plan, right? Well, hold on a second, because something doesn't quite add up here, and once you spot it, you can't unsee it. As men get older, testosterone naturally drops. We all know this. It's why older men often feel less energetic, less driven, and less muscular than they did in their 20s. And if testosterone is dropping with age, then DHT should also be dropping, because DHT comes from testosterone. But here's the strange, mind-bending part. Even though DHT levels are technically lower in older men, prostates still enlarge as men age. So how on earth can blocking DHT be the magic solution if DHT is already naturally lower in older guys? It feels confusing, almost contradictory. And honestly, it makes you wonder if the whole story is being told. The explanation researchers offer is this. As we age, that little enzyme, the one that converts testosterone into DHT, actually becomes more active, more aggressive, more efficient at its job. So even though you have less testosterone floating around, the enzyme works over time, squeezing out more DHT from whatever testosterone is available, and that's what creates the powerful effect on the prostate. It's not the amount of testosterone that matters, it's how aggressively the enzyme converts it. Now, when it comes to that top medication, the one I'm intentionally not naming here, studies show it can shrink prostate enlargement by about 23%. That sounds promising on paper, but before you celebrate, you need to hear the other side of the coin, because nothing in medicine comes without strings attached. The side effects of this medication are no joke. We're talking decreased libido, meaning your interest in intimacy can take a major hit. There's also an increased risk of prostate cancer, which is ironic considering what you're trying to prevent. And if that wasn't enough, there's a syndrome that can show up when you stop taking the medication, a syndrome that brings along some truly frightening companions, including suicidal thoughts, atrophy or shrinkage of the penis, and even the development of breast tissue in men. But other than all of that, the medication is totally fine, right? I think we can all agree those are some seriously heavy trade-offs to swallow just for shrinking a gland by a quarter. So this brings us to the question every smart person should be asking right now. Is there a natural way, something gentle, something free of these brutal side effects, something that can actually inhibit that same enzyme without wrecking your body in the process? The answer is a beautiful, resounding yes. There's a natural compound out there, hiding in plain sight, sitting in foods you've probably eaten 1,000 times without realizing the power they hold. In one study, this natural compound was shown to reduce the risk of prostate enlargement by around 21%. Which is incredibly close to what the medication achieves, but without the scary side effects looming over your shoulder. And not only does it tackle prostate enlargement, it also lowers the risk of prostate cancer, fights inflammation throughout the body, and acts as a powerful antioxidant that scrubs free radicals out of your system like a microscopic cleaning crew. The name of this compound, this little hero, is lycopene. Lycopene belongs to a family of plant-based compounds called carotenoids, which is basically a fancy umbrella term for a wide range of vibrant pigments found throughout the plant kingdom. These are the compounds that give fruits and vegetables their bold reds, oranges, and yellows, and they're packed with health benefits that go far beyond just looking pretty on your plate. Lycopene shows up in several foods you probably already know. It's in watermelon, juicy and refreshing on a hot summer day. It's in carrots, that classic crunchy snack. It's even in grapefruit, that tangy citrus fruit some people love and others can't stand. But if you really want to load up on lycopene, if you want to flood your body with the maximum amount of this prostate-protecting powerhouse, you need to turn your attention to one specific food, the undisputed king of lycopene content, and that food is the tomato. Tomatoes are absolutely loaded with lycopene, but here's where it gets even more fascinating. If you can grow your own tomatoes in your backyard garden, you're hitting the jackpot because homegrown tomatoes are fresher, richer in nutrients, and completely free from the chemical sprays and pesticides that often coat store-bought produce. If gardening isn't your thing, the next best option is your local farmer's market, where you can grab tomatoes that were picked recently, ripened naturally, and bursting with flavor and nutrients. But here's something really interesting that surprises most people. You don't actually have to eat raw tomatoes to get the lycopene benefits. In fact, canned tomatoes, tomato sauce, and tomato paste are all excellent sources, and there's a beautiful scientific reason behind this. When you heat tomatoes, the lycopene inside them becomes much more bioavailable, meaning your body can absorb and use it far more efficiently than when the tomato is raw. So that warm bowl of tomato soup, that bubbling pot of marinara sauce, that rich tomato paste stirred into a stew, all of these are loaded with lycopene that your body can actually grab onto and use. Just one quick warning though, because not all tomato products are created equal. When you're shopping for canned tomatoes or tomato sauces, you have to read the labels carefully and avoid the versions that come loaded with added sugar. Sugar is the last thing your body needs, and adding it to an otherwise healthy food completely defeats the purpose. Look for tomato products that are as natural as possible, ideally with just tomatoes, maybe a little salt, and nothing else. The cleaner the ingredient list, the better the benefits. Here's another tip that takes things to the next level. Lycopene is what's called a fat-soluble compound, which is a fancy way of saying it dissolves in fat rather than water. This means that if you really want to extract the maximum amount of lycopene from your tomatoes, you should cook them with a little olive oil. The combination of healthy fat plus gentle heat works like magic, pulling more lycopene out of the tomato and making it easier for your body to absorb. So next time you're sautéing tomatoes or making a sauce, drizzle in some good quality olive oil and let the alchemy happen. Your prostate will thank you for it. You don't have to overhaul your entire diet to benefit from this either. Including some kind of tomato dish in your meals just twice a week can already make a meaningful difference for your prostate health. Toss fresh tomato slices onto your salad, throw cherry tomatoes into a pasta dish, simmer up a hearty tomato stew, or enjoy a classic tomato-based sauce over your favorite meal. The point is to make it consistent, easy, and enjoyable, because the foods that actually work in the long run are the ones you genuinely look forward to eating. While lycopene is the superstar of this conversation, there are a few other helpful allies worth mentioning. Zinc sits right at the top of the list as one of the most important minerals for prostate health, supporting everything from immune function to hormone balance. There's also a compound called resveratrol, the same one famous for being in red wine, which works beautifully alongside lycopene to amplify the benefits. These nutrients combined create a powerful team that supports your prostate from multiple angles. Now, before we wrap up, there's one more thing you absolutely need to hear, and it might surprise you. As helpful as lycopene is, you could be sabotaging all your efforts if you keep consuming one particular food, and that food is milk. Yes, that's right, milk. Dairy products contain certain growth hormones that can actually trigger and worsen prostate enlargement. Back when I was actively in practice, I had countless older men sit across from me and share the exact same story. Every single time they consumed dairy, whether it was a glass of milk, a bowl of ice cream, or a cheesy dish, the very next morning they noticed a significantly harder time urinating, almost like the prostate had swelled up overnight in response to the dairy. So if you're serious about protecting your prostate, dairy is something you really need to think twice about and ideally cut back on or eliminate entirely. Now that you know the best food to protect your prostate and the worst food that secretly damages it, your next move is just as important. There are 4 other sneaky things hiding in your everyday life that contribute to prostate enlargement, and you'll want to know exactly what they are so you can avoid them like the plague. I've covered all 4 of them in another video, and I highly recommend you check it out right after this one, because knowing what to add to your diet is only half the battle. Knowing what to remove is where the real transformation begins. Take care of your prostate, take care of your health, and remember that small daily choices, the ones that seem too simple to matter, are actually the choices that shape your entire future. Start with the tomato, ditch the dairy, and watch how your body begins to thank you in ways you never expected.